Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Director, Office of the CIO, The Boeing Company, Niki Allen.
Good morning. You guys look awesome. All right, my name is Niki Allen, and I'm your neighborhood-friendly IT transformation leader. As you guys know, transformation can be really, really hard. You have to have an unwavering focus, persistence, grit, and patience, because you cannot measure the changes overnight. But if it's done correctly, transformation can literally change the world. And so speaking of changing the world, I want to share with you today just a small piece of a transformation journey that I am on at what I would argue is one of the most infamous companies for changing the world in aerospace. How many of you, by show of hands, have heard of the Boeing Company? Okay, good. I'm in the right room. The notoriety of a company like Boeing stems from a century of delivering innovative products and services that help to connect, protect, explore, and inspire the world. And nowadays, I would argue the universe. We do that with a team of 150,000 employees, a supply base that includes 20,000 suppliers and partners, and a footprint that spans 65 countries. It is a massive operation. And so with an operation that large, you can imagine the amount of data that we generate every minute, every hour, every day, and so on. In fact, our 787 Dreamliner will generate about 1 terabyte of data in a single flight. We're going to come back to that point later, but I share that with you because I want you to get a feel for the size and the level of complexity at an organization as large as Boeing. And most importantly, kind of understand with me the opportunity that I have running the Office of the CIO to leverage technology and help transform our company so that we survive another 100 years. So, a year ago, I stood on the podium at the New York Stock Exchange. That's me. I was preparing to ring the opening bell in celebration of our centennial. And guys, even today, as I'm sharing this moment with you, I'm getting goosebumps because it absolutely was an amazing experience for me to think about being a part of such a historical moment. I mean, we literally changed the world. But the world changed us as well, right? If I reflect over the transition and evolution of technology over the last 100 years, I mean, just the proliferation of sensors alone has changed the way that we, collect and process and analyze and disseminate data. Think back to that example I gave you about the 787, right? Multiply that across our entire fleet. And if you can keep your head from exploding, multiply that across our entire installed base. That is a lot of data, but there's value in that data. You add on top of that the need for cybersecurity, the move towards factory automation, additive manufacturing, adoption of cloud, mobility, right? I can go on and on and on. The point I'm making is that technology is literally evolutionizing and changing the way that we do business. And if we leverage it correctly, it's not just the technology by itself. If we leverage this correctly, the technology, when combined with our domain expertise and our core strengths, what we are good at, that's the sweet spot. That's how we survive another 100 years. So there I am at the New York Stock Exchange. I'm preparing to exit stage left, and all of a sudden I have this overwhelming feeling. I'm not going to say that it was fear, but I would say that it was a sense of urgency. I knew that this couldn't be a one-time deal. We have to get back here. Not me personally, right? I don't want to be there in another 100 years, unless technology changes that. But it couldn't be a one-time deal, right? And so I felt this sense of urgency and this need to take ownership of this future, right? I have to do something. So I got back to the office, kicked into, call it what you want, Mach 10, warp, lightning, pick your flavor of speed. I knew I had to do something to accelerate this change. So there I am, back in my office. I have my epiphany in tow. And I'm trying to figure out, where do we start? Because you can imagine a company like Boeing, we weren't born digital. There's a host of complexity and legacy systems and architecture and point-to-point integration, you name it, there's a lot that comes with trying to transform a company like ours. So I had to start somewhere, and I anchored us in our strategy because it was simple and it was something that everyone understood. I affectionately refer to it as our 3E equation. So the 3 E's, engagement plus excellence equals enablement. Engagement. How do we engage? How do we show up? How do I empower our teams to think and act and perform differently, collaborate differently? How do we go from being the order taker in the room and the executor of the work to actually leading and influencing the digital conversation? And then most importantly, how do we leverage our external partnerships to bring best-of-breed solutions from the outside in? And I will tell you guys that this is the antidote for insularity. Whenever you try to lead through a transformation, those complacency antibodies will start to kick in. So bringing the outside in will give you another avenue of support and advocacy as you lead down that path. Excellence. We don't get to just show up every day and claim our right to passage because we're IT. We have to earn the right to be here. And we do that through demonstrated functional excellence. We have to ensure we're not comfortable delivering anything but flawless, first-time quality technology products and services. We cannot be okay taking 2 months to deliver something that should take, taking 2 years to deliver something that should take 2 months. Enablement. Excellence. Enablement, I'm getting mixed up here on my slides. Excellent, enablement. So if we engage effectively, I'm not being functionally excellent, am I? So if we engage effectively and we demonstrate functional excellence, then ultimately we'll enable the business to succeed, right? But it's not just incremental, sort of doing things a little bit better than we did them before. We actually have to be able to leverage technology, leverage our functional excellence, and innovate and scale. And in order to get people to scale, they have to understand how to connect the dots. They have to see themselves in what they do, whether it's developing software or protecting and securing the network or provisioning infrastructure. They have to see how the work that they do every day connects back to enabling the business to either be productive or generate revenue. And most importantly, we have to have our own factory, like a digital factory that we can use as an accelerant to help lead us through this transformation. And so there I was, I'm armed with a strategy, I have a purpose, I have a sense of urgency, and I developed what we call the digital transformation environment. And I'm gonna refer to it from here on out as the DTE. So getting the DTE stood up was not trivial. I had to create this really compelling story to help people understand why they needed to be a part of this transformation. In fact, as I was pitching the DTE concept in the early days, people would ask me, okay, Niki, well, what's the end game? And for me, the end game is it goes away. If I do this right, I don't need this group of elite, SEAL team software developers and this really cool environment that's a one-off. Essentially, it becomes absorbed into our function, and it's just the way that we do business, right? It's the new IT. And so I knew that partnering with Pivotal in this conceptual phase was very important because they had a track record of helping companies like ours do this and transform. But it wasn't enough for me to believe in Pivotal. I had to make sure that everybody believed in Pivotal. So I took my entire leadership team peers, including my boss, who's our CIO, to the Pivotal office so they could see what a day in the life of Pivotal was like and have an appreciation for the art of the possible. Needless to say, super excited. They were ready to get started. Said, hey, Niki, let's sign a contract and go. But I had one more group to convince, and that was the business stakeholders. The reason being, they were going to be my advocates, right? If I get this right, they're the consumers of this new model. So I took our CTO, our SVP of engineering, our SVP of supply chain and operations, who just so happens to be our Undersecretary of Defense now, all of our business leads, took them through Pivotal as well so that they could see an imprint and have a visual of what it was we were trying to become. So now that I have the business on board, I launched the DTE at the beginning of 2017. It's been a tremendous accelerator for software development and delivery. We've got hundreds of projects right now in our opportunity pipeline. That list grows every single day. We've got a backlog of nearly 80 that we've qualified that are preparing to enter the DTE. We have several that we've already pushed through production, one which recently helped with a significant airplane sale. So I think it's safe to say at this point, you guys think that I can claim some early wins, just a few. And you may ask, why the success, right? Why has it been so successful? And I would argue that it's the way we're leveraging extreme programming, agile, the cloud, all things DevOps to really optimize the way that our developers are providing and creating product. Think about our physical factory. The more time a mechanic can spend actually building an airplane versus looking for work instructions and those sorts of things just optimizes our opportunity to deliver product. The same holds true in the world of software development. So ensuring that our developers are fully kitted at the start, have everything that they need, and they can start to contribute right away. The move to cloud alone has been just a huge dividend payer for us. I mean, we've got 100 times faster infrastructure service delivery. We're seeing 6 times increase in asset utilization. We've got database service hosting time that used to be measured in months, and we're now measuring that in hours. So we're talking real, tangible results. But one of the biggest things I've seen so far with this transformation is the cultural shift. People are excited to work on this. Every single day I get a phone call or someone knocking on my door going, Niki, how can I be a part of the DTE? There's a renewed sense of accountability and transparency, and people are taking notice. We've had over 300 folks from across all of our programs, businesses, sites, you name it, visiting the DTE to see, hey, what's going on there? As you guys know, culture will eat strategy for lunch. So to actually witness a cultural shift happening has been the most rewarding part of this journey for me. And so that journey continues. There you can see the start, the early days of the DTE. And this sounds easier said than done, but I will tell you, the relentless focus that I've had on this goal is absolutely helping to make my vision a reality. At Boeing, we have to constantly reinvent ourselves because being complacent will absolutely ensure obsolescence. As I mentioned at the start of this conversation, we're a 100-year-old company, and we've built a reputation on changing the world. I have to do my part to make sure that our legacy continues. So that's my mission, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for your time today.